Well, hello, happy storytellers, and welcome to the Master Keys to Happiness Tell Your New Story Workshop Lesson 1. This is the one where we get into I introduce myself and we get into the beginning of the information that's going to really be given to you in workshop 2. But we are going to do some important stuff tonight, so don't go, clicking away from me now. There is some real good content in this video, and if you miss it, you will be missing a critical component of what you need to learn in order to get to the point of happiness and telling your new story. Because after all, you want to create a new life, you need to start speaking new words, telling a new story. Thinking, behaving, and acting differently is the key to bringing happiness into your life. Because if it's not working for you now, you got to change something. And you know what? You're the key to that change. If you want change in your life, it starts with you. Okay? So let's get started. First, I want to ask you how you're feeling today. Because I'm feeling pretty good. It's the beginning of spring. And some of you may be seeing this at who knows what time in the year, but I'm doing this as a beginning of spring activity because spring is when the newness starts. It's when projects begin, the earth is coming alive, flowers, trees, pollen is blooming. Those of you with allergies, I know you know that. But it's a good time for new beginning, and what better time is there to start a new life, start telling a new story, and start growing and blossoming with the spring. The energy is ripe with fertility and possibility, and this is a great time for us to start. So, like I said, my day has been good. I've been having some wonderful aha moments and wonderful abundant things happening for me, and I just can't wait to share some of that with you. So, what's the new story? The new story is starting to learn to speak and tell something different about what's happening in your experience despite what's going on around you. It's not about what's going on around you, it's about what's going on within. That's where the important work happens, and that's where the change starts. So let's start by introducing myself. I am Lyn Williams, your love and happiness mastery mentor. Let's try that again. Your love and happiness mastery mentor. And for the last year and a half or so, I've been in this process of recovery, renewal, rebuilding, rebirthing my life as I went through a major crisis back in the mid to late 2000s too. In fact, I'm just now coming out of the crux of it, which is why I'm doing this video, because I recreated and now am telling a new story about my life. And so I want to do that for you too, because that's where it all begins. So what is it? Let's see. Let me ask you a couple of questions here. I want to kind of make you start to think about what's going on with you and where you want to go. So how are you feeling right now? Do you suffer from depression? Maybe you can't fall asleep, or if you fall asleep, you can't stay asleep. Now, some of that can be getting older, but for the most part, it's about the anxiety and tension and, your mind running away from you, all the stuff carrying over from your day that instead of letting it go and relaxing, you're still going to bed with it, taking it with you. So are you feeling overworked? Do you feel like you're unappreciated, underappreciated, or maybe just misunderstood? Do you hate your job? Now that's a biggie, because if you hate your job, that means you're spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day in a state of agitation and negative energy, and boy, that can mess up your day, and it's messing up your life. I mean, that's part of what this whole thing is, because if you start to change your story and the words that you use to describe your life, you're going to find a lot of other things are going to change too. You may decide to change that job. You may decide to take this job and shove it. Whatever the case, it's up to you. I'm just going to start working with you to start to create and think about something new and different is possible. So, one of the other things that could be happening with you is you might be feeling confused and lost. You know you need to make some changes, but you just don't know what changes to make or how to make them. Does any of that resonate with you? Sound familiar, or like something you might want to take a look at? Well, hey, relax. A lot of people are feeling that way these days. Part of it's what's going on with the planet and all of us as we evolve. And I used to feel like that too, until I found a way to start feeling better. Okay? You see, I used to be really depressed. I mean, really depressed. I had a complete life collapse in late 2004. And I have a really sad story. I mean, even when I tell the short version of it, it sounds like a soap opera, except that it really wasn't. It was real. It was my life. Now, when I tell the whole story, and even the short version, it sounds overwhelming. But I'm going to have to tell you a little bit about it anyway, just to give you the inside information about why I am doing what I'm doing, why I can do what I'm doing, and why I understand what's happening with you. So let's get on with the short version. And even with that, like I said, it's going to be it's a long sequence of events that I'm going to condense down into about maybe 7-10 minutes, okay? For the most part, it all started back in 1987 when my oldest sister died from cancer. And she got sick, and within a few short months, from like May to December, she was gone. They did do surgery and they did some treatments, but in 7 months, she was gone. And so it was quite a shock because we weren't prepared for her to be sick at first, and then certainly not for her to leave as quickly as she did. The following June of 1988, my son was killed in a drive-by shooting. And this is where it starts to really get deep. This was in Los Angeles. It was one of those really heavy situations that those of you who've lost children can relate to it, but I can't explain to you what happens when you lose a child. It turns your whole world upside down because things are thrown out of sequence. It's not supposed to happen that way, but then a lot about life seems like it's not supposed to happen that way, but it does. 3 weeks after my son was killed, my husband, who wasn't my children's father, he was husband number 2, but he lost control and turned violent. He had some serious issues of his own, and when my crisis happened, they resurfaced. One afternoon, he just snapped, grabbed me by the throat and started choking me. And just before I lost consciousness, he let me go. But the damage to me was done. That violent event changed me forever, especially since I'd just gone through so much trauma behind the death of my son. Now, the man who killed my son was arrested. He was tried and convicted, and tried and convicted, and tried and convicted. But for some reason, he kept getting appeals granted. And we went through 5 trials between 1988 and 1995. So it made it even more difficult for me to heal from his death because I kept reliving it. Every time we go back into court, they'd bring up the whole thing, tell the story, tell the pictures, the testimony, all of this over and over again. But in time, I started to recover and things seemed to settle down, and I kind of began to feel a little bit normal. 2 years after that, in June of 1990, my second oldest sister was murdered. Yeah, I told you it's like a soap opera, and I'm not done yet. But the thing was, she was killed as a result of being a witness to a violent crime. And 2 days before she was to testify against the perpetrators, she disappeared. They found her body 2 days later. Now, her murderer was never arrested. They said they knew who he was, but they didn't have enough evidence to arrest him. So as far as I know, he's still out there, and who knows who else he may have killed by now. Finally, though, I did divorce husband number 2 in 1994. Yeah, it took a long time because I was in no condition to deal with much of anything. And being single and what have you, I mean, I was dealing with my daughter who was 14 at the time my son died, and it was just too much going on. I couldn't handle another traumatic event. But finally, in June, I believe it was, in 1994, we broke up. But then in April of 1995, my mother passed away. She'd always been my rock, so losing her was like losing a best friend. And of course, the rug was pulled out from under me for sure. And it became a matter of, what is happening to me? What's going on? Well, I got through that. And then in 1997, I remarried. And for the first time, I felt like I had a partner I could be safe with, someone I could trust. He was attentive. He was generous. He was very intelligent. Even had a strange sense of humor, which was funny at first, kind of got a little twisted towards the end of our marriage. But, he was very good to me and my family overall. And so even though he was a little bit controlling, He was a successful businessman, and I kind of thought that was just his business persona. After all, at this point in time, he hadn't, exhibited any of that towards me, so I just ignored it. It was pretty much like we do with most really strong, powerful men. The fact that they can be a little overwhelming. We figure, hey, he's successful. He's somebody we can admire. It's strength. It's power. Yeah, right. But then 9/11 happened. And he lost his business, and it was a result of all the changes that happened as in the international marketplace, as because of the flight problems and the terrorists and all this. I mean, everything, what happened, turned everything upside down, and he was devastated. He became depressed. He got irritable, and he just never recovered. And even though a few years went by, I waited for him to get better, kept thinking things are going to be better and better, and instead it went the other way. It got worse and worse and worse. And he started taking out his frustrations on me, not physically, but verbally and emotionally. And finally, in 2004, I couldn't take it anymore, so I found myself facing another divorce. And in February 2005, our divorce was final. And it was a bad divorce because he was very angry because I left and wouldn't take his, battering and beating me up emotionally, because he needed a punching ball and I was it. That's generally what happens in a family. The person who's suffering takes it out on those closest, and that happened to be me. And then in July 2005, he died. I am not kidding you. Yes. He died. And because we broke up because of the dysfunctionality of our relationship, not because we didn't love each other, when he passed away, I lost it. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And this time, I spiraled out of control, and I couldn't stop it. After the difficult divorce and all the trauma I'd been through, it was just, it was more than I could handle. Then in February 2006, my baby sister died. She got the flu, it went into pneumonia, and she just dropped dead one day. That was 3 sisters, mother. My father had passed away when I was 20, but that was a long time ago. But all of this, husband, son, sisters, mother, it was just too much, and I couldn't handle it. Now, I mentioned my daughter before. By this time, she was in her late 20s, early 30s. But we had begun to drift apart. We had been so close all of her life. We had a wonderful mother-daughter relationship that people really envied, and it was a godsend to me. But with all that was going on in my life and the deaths of our family members and everything, I guess it was too much for her too. And as my life spiraled downward, she couldn't handle it, and we drifted apart. And eventually, she left, and for 3 years, I didn't even know where she was. And that's another story altogether, which I'm not going into right now, but it's just that you can see how step by step by step by step by step I dropped into this pit. And when that happened, and before my divorce, I had been an IT consultant for 30 some odd years. I had a successful consulting business. I was doing very well. I had a 6-figure income, and with my husband, we had created a 7-figure income and assets net worth. Things were good. I had a beautiful home, high-end Lexus. We had a Beamer. We had a Lexus RX. I mean, we had a wonderful life. But when all this happened, within a few years, it was all gone. Just gone. By the time all this happened, though, I was in my mid-50s. So even though I wanted to go back to my IT career, the corporate world decided, no, you're too old. We don't want to have anything to do with you. And I looked for a job for 3 years. I had 2 interviews, came in second both times. That was it. I bottomed out, and by the time 2007 rolled around, I was flat broke. I had sold everything. With the economy collapsing underneath me, there was just nothing. I mean, everybody was having a hard time by then, and my collapse had started so much earlier that I had nothing to fall back on. And by not being able to get back to work either, it was just the end of it. So I ended up on food stamps, living with friends while I tried to recover and get back on my feet, but it just wasn't happening. My financial fall was a big one. And like I said, by the end of 2007, I was done. I had to sell everything, and being totally broke, I just got so depressed. It was just overwhelming. And because I had run out of money, I couldn't pay my credit card bill. So one by one, they went away. I paid off a lot of the debt before this happened, but I was living off of money with nothing coming in. And finally, I had to let all the credit card bills go, and with no job and no income, I ended up with no credit either. And if you think your life is bad, you try to be broke with no credit and what have you, hey, it's rough. So to say I was depressed and terrified was an understatement. I had worked since I was 17 years old. I'd worked my way through school and through all kinds of things. But when you're younger and you have all these options, and corporations will hire you, and life is happening and growing, it's not the same. But once you're in your middle 50s and you're getting older and you should be stable and successful, and you bottom out, hey, I can't begin to tell you, although some of you might be experiencing that now, and you know what I'm talking about. It was totally unbelievable. I mean, incredible. No career, no money, no family, and no clue. But I knew I had to survive because I was still here. And for all intents and purposes, I was still fairly young. So I had to figure out something to do, and I needed to figure it out fast. So fortunately, I was an energy healer. I had become a Reiki master several years before. In fact, I became a Reiki master when my mother passed away, because that was one of the ways I healed myself from all the stuff that had happened, and with her death and the divorce, my second divorce and everything. But I hadn't been practicing. I wasn't practicing professionally because I didn't have enough to give to anyone. But because I had this ability, it came to me, well, practice on yourself. Reiki is Reiki. Whether you're giving it or receiving it, it's still Reiki. So I started using it. And it was a good thing I did, because that was all I had. And shortly after I started doing Reiki on myself, I learned about another energy healing modality called EFT, or tapping, emotional freedom technique, more commonly known as tapping now. And it's because we tap on energy meridians in the body. It's kind of like acupuncture without the needles. And thank God there were no needles, because I don't like needles. And I know a lot of you don't either. But anyway, between Reiki and tapping, I was able to start to heal the hole in my heart, to heal my depression, and begin to see my way back. But I was nowhere near done. I just had tools to help me survive, and it was surviving at that point. But even though I had this ability to start to heal myself, it's like, we always talk about, lawyers should not be their own attorneys, doctors should not treat themselves, and that's true. Therapists should not treat themselves. You cannot effectively treat and diagnose yourself. But because of my situation, that was basically all I had. So I did that, and it was good. I mean, it worked. And one of the things I want to mention as we get towards the end of the webinar, in all of my webinars, I do a Reiki EFT tapping session for your healing, and it's free. Normally I charge good money for this, but it's part of this course because I know you need that energy support too, and because it's very important to your healing on the spiritual level, I provide that to you as a gift, free of charge, and it's a lot of fun. Tapping is fun. And as you'll see when we get to that point, it's easy to do. And once you get the gist of it, you can use the scripts I provide you and do it on yourself. Now, back to my story though. By the end of 2007, I was feeling so down and out that everyone I met and everyone I talked to got to hear about my trauma, my story. It was so invasive and so complete that was all I could talk about. And it wasn't my intention to be negative, but that's the way it came off. I was really hurt. I was lonely. I was desperately looking for someone to throw me a lifeline. And so all I could do was, I would tell people what was going on because I wanted them to pet me, to hug me, to say, don't worry, it's going to be all right. But they didn't. Instead, they started running away from me like I had the plague, which only made it worse. The end result was I lost my friends. The phone calls of how you doing stopped. Of course, invitations had long since gone away. And I had been moving around so much as I was living with friends and, trying to keep a roof over my head that my security was gone too. Because sometimes I didn't know, how long I would be in one place. And when they got tired of me or the time came or whatever, I had to move. I would have to move. No choice. So the sadness I felt became so deeply ingrained in my heart and my soul that it showed in my eyes, in my face, my body language, and everyone could see it. I've seen some pictures of me that were taken during that time, and I hardly recognized myself. It was like, oh my God, who is that woman? It was me. Now, I'd always been a very positive person. Like I said, I had a great life at one time. Despite the things that were happening, I was very successful, and a lot of my life was really great. So when people started asking me, why are you always so negative? I was shocked. I was like, me? Negative? But I couldn't see myself. I couldn't feel my energy, and I couldn't believe it. All I knew was that I hurt deeply, and it had consumed me. It had become who I was. Just like it's probably become who you are. Without you realizing it, you are wearing and living that experience. That's the story you're telling. For me, it got so bad that I just wanted out. I mean, being on the planet became unbearable. And I prayed to leave the planet. I really did on several occasions. But nothing happened. I wake up in the morning and I'm still here. So after a few of those really dark nights of the soul, I decided, well, hey, if I'm going to have to stay here, I got to do better than this. Something's got to shift because this is just, I can't handle this. I couldn't go on. I knew I wasn't going to survive it. So, but instead of continuing to pray for an escape, I started praying for something different. This was one of the beginnings of changing my story. I didn't know it then, but instead of crying and praying for escape, I started praying for clarity and understanding and acceptance. At one moment, a light bulb kind of went on that said, instead of asking, why is this happening to me and acting like a victim, I should start asking, hey, what's this all about? What's the blessing in this situation that I need to look for? What lesson do I need to learn? What's this all about, so that I can figure this out and get out of this mess? Because whatever it was, I needed now to learn what I needed to learn so I could get it over with. It became then a journey of exploration to figure out, how do I get this over with, done, and fix the situation? Because if I'm going to be here, this has got to change. I knew that the sooner I could figure it out, the sooner things would improve. And this decision, this change of mind, changed the course of my life. And instead of the end of my life, it was the beginning of the rest of my new life. Now, up in the corner, you might see a little purple box now, which is pointing you to a video from my How I Did It series, which is a free series that's right now on YouTube. This is something I filmed back in November 2011. After I'd gotten well enough to talk about it without crying and bemoaning my situation, I created this little 6-part series as a gift to anyone out there who was in a similar situation that needed a little bit of encouragement, a little hope, a glimmer of hope that they could come back from the edge of hell and recreate their lives and live too. And I created this series. So I took a little clip of it, and if you click on that little purple box up in the corner of the screen, you'll get to see the clip. It's only about a minute, maybe a minute and a half of where I was back in November 2011. But it's there to illustrate, to show you the before picture. In other words, that's where I was back then, but that was before I put all this stuff together in a meaningful way that actually lifted me out of the mire and the depths of depression and put me back into this position now where I am, where I'm feeling happy and having great days and the sun's shining and I'm feeling good and actually, grateful for the experience on many levels. You may not understand that, but as time goes on, you will, okay? Now, if you want proof, then there it is. That's the before picture, and the after picture is now. This is what you're looking at. Me smiling, me talking to you, me encouraging you to believe in yourself and to realize and know that things can be better. In fact, the fact that you're watching this video says you've already taken the first step to making a better life for telling your new story. Now, if you follow the lessons that I'm going to share with you and do the practices I'm going to teach you, you will be able to start to feel better too. And it won't take very long. It really doesn't. Once you understand some of the mechanics and start doing some of the things that you really already know but maybe are not aware of, you'll be feeling better too. So let me ask you some more questions. Time for some more questions. What about you? Are you ready? Do you want to feel happy, happier, more connected, more peaceful with your life? How about overcoming financial challenges once and for all? Finally getting that figured out too, so you can have money to spare and to share. You can do more to help other people if you got enough money for your own needs and desires and enough to save and create that cushion of comfort and security, okay? What about feeling better, sleeping better, having more love and energy, and experiencing more joy and happiness? If you answered yes to any or all of these questions, then you know what I say? Hey, let's do it. Let's stop crying and whining and let's just do it. Starting right now. You're in this lesson. You're in workshop 1, and that's what this is all about. So, enough of talking about me. Let's get to you and what it's going to take for you to do it. We're going to start by talking about managing and removing those emotional triggers that get you off into this, that drop you into the pit when something happens, something, event, somebody says something or does something that just sends you into a tailspin. Now, I'm starting with this first because emotions are what this is all about. It's all about emotions. It's all about controlling them, healing them, and getting to the point where you understand what they are, what they do, and the power they hold over us. To do this, though, you have to change the way you perceive the world around you. The world around you isn't going to change, but the way you are in it and the way you see it is changeable. And when you do that, the world around you seems to magically just shift. It changes. Who knew? You've heard this expression before. Be the change you want to see in the world. Well, this is an example of what that means. You probably already know you can't change the people in the world around you. You've been trying to change those people around you for all your life, and it still hasn't worked. And you keep trying. Forget it. It's not going to happen. But you can change the way you experience them, and that's the important thing. You can change. The solution is to allow them to be who they are and accept them, because changing them is just a struggle. You can't win. And in fact, the more you try to change them, the more they resist. Okay, so it becomes the battle of wills, an impossible situation, the ultimate impossible dream. But you can either accept them, or you can grow to a point where you want to release them out of your life. Sometimes some of them you can't get rid of, but the ones you can, you will. And some of them will go away of their own accord, because once your energy shifts and changes and you become somebody different, somebody new and better, some of those queens and kings of drama that you are surrounded with now are going to go away on their own, because they don't want to be around you. You're not supporting their dramas and soap operas and all the stuff going on with them. And you are now a better person. So they're not going to be interested in you anymore. So you don't have to worry about them. But some of the others that will stay, those relatives we love so much and those other people that we work with, they're going to stay, but you will be different. And so it'll make a whole world of difference to you. And that's the important thing. So if you accept the people and you have to deal with the ones you can't release from your life, the key is to do what I call remove the buttons that they love to push. And believe me, you can do it. You got those buttons or that last nerve. Well, you can either build a shield around that last nerve, and more importantly, you can remove the buttons that they love to push. Now, it's not easy, but with practice and knowledge, you can change the way you respond and perceive the actions and behaviors of the people around you. So let's get to it. Now, know this. You are responsible for everything that happens to and around you. What that means is you are able to determine how you respond to events in your life. You may not think you can, because right now you're on automatic. When something happens, bing, they push that button and you jump like a jackrabbit. They pull some strings and you're in puppet motion, okay? But you can. So let's take a look at 3 steps that can help you learn to be responsible in the way you want to be and help you begin to remove those buttons. Number 1, accept that you can't change the other people and decide to change you instead. That's step number one. Once you accept that, it means you open up to some new possibilities, and then things begin to shift. Number two, be willing to change. If you are in resistance of, I don't want to change, or I'm not going to do this, or this is the way I am, then you're stuck in concrete, and you're kind of condemning yourself to stay in this place of experience. You got to be willing to change. Problems are not solved with the same mindset that created them. So if you want to change your life, you have to be willing to change. Get it? You are the life. You are your life. And being willing to change changes your life. Step number three, consciously choose to change the way you respond to what people say and do. That's a decision. If you usually react angrily when you don't get your way, or something undesirable happens, then change your reaction by doing something different when those things happen. The way you do that is to break the energy. You stop, take a few breaths, and think. Consciously think, and then react. Doing those first few things breaks that energy. First of all, it gives you a minute to choose to do something different. And breathing energizes your body and clears your head so you don't go off the handle. That simple stop, breathe, think, and choose will make the difference. The break in your actions and that fresh air energizes your spirit as well, because when you breathe in air, you actually breathe in spiritual energy, and it's cleansing, it's healing, okay? Now, Einstein defines insanity as doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. Is he describing your behavior? If so, then you need to consciously change your behavior and make the decision to be sane. In this crazy world, it's just a decision. I'm going to be sane. I'm not going to be crazy like I used to be. I mean, we say that all the time, but it's a decision, and you can change it, okay? Now, here's how you do that. The next time someone triggers a reaction in you, here are 3 more things you can do. First, I said, stop, breathe, think, and then choose. Number 2, see and surround them with pure, shimmering white light. That's spiritual God presence energy. That's white light. You can just, in your mind, and see this glowing cloud of white light coming around them from the heart center. You can even just send it if you want to. But if you can't, you send them love energy along with this white light, because that's what the spiritual light you're surrounding them with is. It's love light. It's all it is. It may be a bit challenging to do at first because you're in this place of negative energy and maybe even anger and hatred, but it gets easier with practice, especially when you do it first and you find out that it really works. Now, you don't have to feel love for them. It's simply a matter of thinking and saying to yourself, I send and surround you with love and pure white shimmering light. Say it 3 times if you need to while you're breathing. This is what you're doing while you're breathing. You can say it out loud, you can say it to yourself, but this is what you're thinking while you're breathing in this moment that you have taken to stop, breathe, think, and choose. You can say it out loud or to yourself. This is the 3rd step. This is one of the most critical parts of this. You can say, Spirit, God, or whatever name you use for the Creator, the universe. God, let me see them the way that you do. God, let me see them the way that you do. The reason you say this is because the way Spirit sees us is from a place of pure white love energy and perfection. Spirit doesn't see us in all of our human drama. Spirit sees us in the way we were created, in its own image of purity, love, harmony, balance, and divine presence, okay? So when you ask for God to allow you to have that same perspective of that person, inside that happens. You get a chance to see the divine presence within them instead of the human trauma that's going on, that's standing on your last nerve or putting that button or jerking your chain, So by saying that, and you say it several times until you start to see them differently, you will find your perspective of them begins to shift. And suddenly, so will they. Now, you do this often enough in challenging situations, I don't care where you are, and you'll see a positive change in the way you react to situations, to people. and things. You can also apply this technique to situations. This is not just people, because remember, everything is energy. And in a difficult, challenging situation, you can simply say, Lord or God or what, Lord, let me see the situation the way that you do. Because again, spirit only sees the energy, not the form and all the drama surrounding it. So, Lord, let me see the situation the way that you do. Okay? And when you ask for that blessing, for that vision, you will be given this blessing, this gift of new eyes to see. But there's a fourth component of this, and this is going to be challenging for some of you, but try it anyway. To make it even more effective, pray for the person. And you don't have to pray in a very heavy spiritual way. You can just simply say, I pray for you. I send you love and light because I know God is in the middle of all of this. God's in me. God's in you. Something that simple will do it. And as it's happening, if you can say this prayer, it will diffuse the energy of a negative situation. The negative energies of confrontation like anger, jealousy, fear, resentment, they're low-level energies. And they can't exist in the presence of the higher-level energies and frequencies of love, joy, light, peace, and harmony. You introduce those higher level emotional frequencies into a negative situations, and that negativity will dissolve away. Kind of like turning on a light in a dark room. Instantly it's gone, because darkness cannot abide in the presence of light. So, all of these exercises, I know you may be sitting there going, you expect me to do that? Oh, no way, I'm not ready to do that. Well, this is part of your decision to change and accept and embrace these new ideas. Now, I'm not asking you to go out and climb a mountain physically. I'm asking you to climb the mountain within you, and basically it's just try it. Try it. You'll like it. It's the easy way to make changes in your life without changing, because, we really cannot change the world around us, our circumstances, and that's what most of us try to do, which is why we're so dissatisfied and why it's so hard and frustrating, because we're working with everything backwards. It's kind of like, how driving a car, when you sit in the seat with your foot on the pedals and you're driving this way, it's pretty easy. In fact, driving becomes automatic, which is why we fall asleep or run into things and get distracted. But you turn around and try to drive that car backwards, put your foot on the brake and steering wheel, and you're looking behind you, it's very difficult. It can be done, but it's hard. And you run into things more, and it's stressful. And pretty much the way we've been taught to work our lives, by changing the world around us, the things in our lives, it's like driving your car backwards. That analogy will kind of put it clear for you. What I'm trying to teach you to do is to learn to turn around and drive your car forward the way it was designed. Okay? Now, like I said, you can do these exercises by saying your words aloud, but if it's not practical, you can say them to yourselves. Words and thoughts are energy. Everything is energy, so it will work just as well. But if you say it out loud, there's additional power, because there's emotion conveyed in your words as well. Now, do this a few times. You apply some light energy to challenging situations, and you will find that they will start to shift, and then it becomes automatic. As you see the effectiveness, you start to do it more. Now, the next step in changing your experience of the world is becoming consciously aware of the things you say, of your thoughts, and of your feelings. So let's talk about something I call word exchanges. In other words, this is a simple process of replacing the words you usually use with some new ones. Okay? This is part of creating and telling your new story. When you start using new words, this becomes your new story. All that old drama stuff you used to spew out of your mouth now becomes new supporting positive energy words that will support and shift your energy. Words are energy, and they convey energy. Some words are positive and some are negative. Some empower you while others disempower you. Some words support you while others undermine you. Okay? The words I am, in capital letters, are two of the most powerful words you could ever speak. First, because we call God, Spirit, the universe, the great I am presence, the great I am. And secondly, because that great I am presence is in you. That's the life force. That's your heart beating. That's the heat, the energy in your body. That's the person, the energy that's behind your vision, your thoughts, your actions. That force, the great I am presence, is the life that you are. And it lives in your heart. Okay? It's the first thing that develops in a fetus when it's growing. It's the heart, and it's beating, creating growth, energy, heat, and life. So because it's part of us, whenever you say I am, it declares and establishes who you are saying and believing you are. Joel Osteen, the TV minister, I won't call him an evangelist because he's really not an evangelist, but he's, I don't really follow him, but I've seen him a couple of times, and quite frankly, I admire his message. He's got a really, really great way of delivering truth in a very traditional way. But anyway, he said, whatever words you say following the words I am will follow you. And you may have seen him with Oprah, because that very saying attracted her too. And now she's doing her life classes, some of her, educational growth classes that she does on TV. She's celebrating with him. In fact, I think she had him on Easter Sunday morning. So whenever you say I am, you need to think about what you're about to say next. You say I am this and I am that all the time. We do it without giving it a second thought. Well, we should be not only giving it a second thought, but a third and maybe even a fourth thought, because whatever you say after the words I am is what you're declaring you are and what you're going to experience, feel, okay? So it's like when you say, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I don't feel good, and your body says, okay, fine. The universe says, right, got it. Or you can say, I'm happy, I feel good, I feel energized, I feel like I can conquer the world. Your body, your mind, your spirit, and the universe says, yep, you're right, good, let's go do it. That energy stays with you from the time you think it and the time it leaves your lips until you reframe it with some new declaration of who you are. Now, when I was healing and going through my biggest part of my transformation, during one of the counseling sessions I had with a minister of mine, I'll call him my spiritual advisor, because he was, and listening to me talk and everything. Of course, he's noticing some of the words that I'm saying and behaviors and all that. And he asked me to try something. He said, start paying attention to the words that you're using to describe yourself and your situation and what's happening around you, which is exactly what I'm doing for you. And so I said, okay. And he said, so let me give you some words, some things to start saying instead of. First one he told me was, notice how many times you say, I'm just surviving, I'm just trying to survive. And he said, from now on, instead of just surviving, how about thriving? Instead of saying, oh, I'm surviving, say, I'm thriving. Okay? And so I said, okay, fair enough. He said, now you don't have to believe it. Right now, I just want you to play with it. Just consciously stop yourself when you're about to say how you're surviving and say, I'm thriving instead, and see what happens. And so I did. And you know what? Within just a few days, maybe a week or two, I started feeling better, because even though I didn't believe it at first, there was something about the energy of the word thriving, thrive, that was empowering, supporting. Whatever it was, it started to shift the energy in me, and I began to feel better. Excuse me. And he did tell me, he said, don't worry about the belief system. Even if you don't believe it now, if you start using it, it'll become part of who you are. And who knew? It did. It really did. It helped me to shift my energy to create and learn to tell my new story. And it was the beginning of my conscious awareness of how my words affected my life and created the experiences I was having. So starting now, and anytime you find yourself starting to say, hey, I'm just trying to survive, or something similar to that, stop yourself and say, I'm thriving. Or if you can't get yourself into saying I'm thriving, then just say, all is well, all is well. What that does is it neutralizes that negative energy. And even though you can't bring yourself to say you're thriving because your conscious mind says, no, you're not, you can say all is well. And that simply just implies a universal condition that all is well. And that you can believe. And if you can just start with that, instead of telling your negative story of suffering, pain, and discomfort, all is well, before long you start to feel that all is well. Okay? Word exchange number 2. Now this is a very powerful one. And this is one that's very important. It's the topic of work. Now most of us hate our work. So I thought this would be a great one to start using right now too while we're in this place of creativity. You can positively change the energy. Excuse me. Got that frog there. Sorry about that. But you can positively change the energy about your work and how you perceive it by simply changing the label you use to describe it. So instead of calling it work or working, which carries this heavy energy of something that's unpleasant or hard to do and tends to repel you, make you want to run away, replace it with the word create or creating. Create and creating is a spiritual energy word. It carries a much lighter, more enjoyable energy, and it literally invites you in to participate. Creating is fun. It's making stuff up. And when you think about it, working really is creating. In your job, you're either making something, writing something, or doing something, or performing some other activity that requires you to bring forth a creative thought or action or energy from within you. So working is creating. That's all it really is. So instead of describing it as work, which we've been taught to dread, we can use create. We teach our children to create. And everything alive on the planet creates. Even plants and animals create. Plants create flowers. Leaves create trees. Termites create incredible condos with built-in air conditioning. Think about it. Everything on the planet that has life creates. By turning your work into a creative expression of who you are, can literally change the energy around it from making it difficult and unpleasant to interesting and fun. And if not fun, at least it can become acceptable. And that makes it something you don't mind doing. So create instead of work. Try it for the next few days and see what happens. Now, word exchange number 3. See, we're doing everything in threes. Well, there's a reason for that, but I won't go into that now. I just want to get you going here. Try, whenever, you're thinking about something in your life that's going on and this is so hard. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is so challenging and difficult. Change it to, instead of saying this is hard, this is a situation. Instead of I have a problem, I have a situation. I have a project. Now, the reason for this is because these two words imply something that you're working on, something that's temporary. It infers that it can be overcome, completed, like a task. It has an end date and something that can be worked out. It's an opportunity to learn and accomplish something that will have a positive, productive outcome. Okay, so instead of I got a problem, I got this challenge, I got this difficult, you got a situation, and situations can be resolved. Okay, now let's talk about the happiness part of this, the fact that it lives within you. I told you in the description that we would start talking about where your happiness is. It's not in other people and things, it's in you. This goes back to this thing about not changing the world around you, not trying to change the people. We always say, if my husband would do this, if my kids would do that, if those people at work. No, it's not about them. It's about you. Happiness is another emotion, and your emotions reside in you. So if you want to be happy, you got to create that inside of you, regardless as to who or what is going on around you. When you look for your happiness and satisfaction in other people, you're going to be disappointed. You've already had a lifetime of that experience. I don't have to prove that to you, but you can change how you perceive it and how you react to things so that you have a much better chance of being happy with the outcome. We're all looking for happiness. Even the people that you can't stand are looking for happiness. Some of us are very sensitive to others and how what we say and do affects other people, but a lot of people aren't. Some people are generous and aware, while others are totally self-absorbed, selfish, and clueless. And so when you're looking for other people to provide what you need and they disappoint you, then you feel let down, abandoned, and all this resentment builds up. And you can't control them. And no one really knows what's going to make you happy anyway, which is why even the people who try to make us happy, they always fall short. There's always this level of disappointment or it's not quite what you wanted. But if you can be happy with you and the way you are inside and with your life as far as the way you're creating it, the things and what have you that other people do and the situations around you become just objects and situations in your life that you can observe like a movie and react to or respond to the way you want. But inside, there's this inner peace, there's this joy and happiness that can't be touched because you created it for yourself, and it's in a place that's untouchable, okay? So instead of looking for other people to satisfy and please and make you happy, and it's not to say that things that they say and do won't. That's something altogether different. I'm talking about that abiding, deep, satisfying happiness that dwells within you, that makes it possible for you to live in this world and not be jerked around by every event and circumstance that comes your way. Now, this is all built around self-love. If you love yourself enough to draw boundaries and set standards for what makes you happy, and for making sure that you take care of yourself, that you nurture yourself and provide for yourself in a way that does that, what this really means is setting boundaries and limits so you don't let the drama kings and queens in your life to begin with, or if they're already there and you can't get rid of, you can change the way you respond to them so that they don't push those buttons that I've been teaching you to remove. In this self-love, it's not a selfish kind of love. It's a love of saying, I love myself enough to be happy. I love myself enough to not let you abuse me. I love myself enough to not let you take everything from me and exhaust me by giving. I love myself enough to create enough for me. Because what usually happens with us is we give so much, especially the women, we women, we give to our children, our families, and everybody else because we've been taught that that's what we're supposed to do. Not. Spirit does not require you to give so much of yourself that you exhaust yourself. Nothing is left for you. That's not what Spirit requires of us. In fact, Spirit requires us to love ourselves because remember, God lives inside of us. And Spirit wants to be loved too. That's who we are. But it means that we learn to set boundaries so that we love ourselves enough to say no. Sometimes you have to say, no, I'm not going to do that, or you're not going to do that to me because I care enough about myself to not be victimized, to not be abused, used, and taken advantage of, okay? When you have this place, come to this place of self-awareness and self-love, you also get to the point where when you meet somebody new, like if you're looking for a new partner in life, and you get a drama king or queen coming along, and you see the indications, because they do bring their red flags and banners waving loud and clear, their actions and behaviors tell you who they are, you, instead of accepting and settling, will say, nope, next. Thank you very much, but I'm not buying today. You will have this awareness to let these other people pass you by. And the people who are healthy, who are good for you, who will be, help you be happier, you'll allow them in. And they will be attracted to you because, it's nothing more attractive than joy and happiness and being in a place of having fun and enjoying your life. Okay? You'll also be able to do what I called create this aura of happiness and abundance around you, and that's in some of the activities that I believe, yes, coming with this particular, is it with this particular, I think it's either this workshop or the next one. Maybe it's the next one. This aura of happiness and abundance is an exercise you go through that actually creates this energy around you in your aura that creates a buffer, creates an energetic buffer and a barrier so that when that negativity comes at you, it's neutralized. When I said that, darkness cannot dwell where there is light, this aura of abundance that you can create around you is exactly that. It's an aura of light, of spiritual light energy. And whenever that negative stuff comes, it just bounces off and dissolves because you are surrounded by this aura of happiness, joy, and love that feels so warm and cozy. You would not believe how much peace will come from that. And you can do it anywhere, anytime. It takes a few seconds to create it. And you can go and run off, and if you're at work and somebody's at you, you can say, excuse me, run off to the restroom, create your aura of abundance and happiness, and come back out. It's like, okay, now what was that? What were you saying? It takes a little practice, but you can do it. And once you've done it a few times, it gets stronger and stronger the more you do it. You'll find you don't have to do it as often because you begin to emote and dwell in that place all the time. And so then it becomes part of who you are. Okay? Now, it's no secret that the feelings we have are the keys to what we experience. Our feelings are our emotions. Our emotions are the language we use to communicate with the universe. Did you know that? That's how the law of attraction and other universal laws all work. The law of attraction decides what we want because we tell it with our emotions. We talk to the universe through our emotions. It responds to our feelings and says, okay, that's what you want. Here it is. Now, we live in a world, in a universe where there are 7 universal laws. The law of abundance, a law of attraction, is only one of them. The other 6 laws, they all work together, and the other 6 laws must also be into play. You must know what they are, understand how they work, in order for you to be in this place of happiness and joy. Because if you're not working with them, you're in resistance to them, and they govern our universe. They govern creation. So when you understand what they are and you accept and work with them, it creates this wonderful opportunity for life to just flow to you. So let's talk about them. We'll go into greater detail in workshop 2, but right now I'll just tell you what they are. Now we'll start with the law of attraction, because that's the one most people are familiar with. That simply says whatever energy you send out is what comes back to you. Pure and simple. Number 2, the law of deliberate creation. Now, I may not be going in the order that a lot of people give them, but I just want you to understand what they are. What that law says deliberate creation means you are actively participating in the process of bringing what you want to you. In other words, you're doing the work, the inner energy work, you're speaking your words, you're planning, you're visualizing all of that, but you're also taking advantage of the opportunities that are coming to you. You're meeting people, you're doing things, you're creating plans, you're creating. When you are actively a part of the process, it means that you're not sitting at home with your hands folded waiting for the lottery people to knock on your door. And if you are wanting to win the lottery, it means that you're consistently buying tickets every time they play, because all you got to do is miss one play and you miss the whole shebang. So it just means that you're deliberately being part of the process, not sitting around waiting for something to drop in your lap, okay? Number 3 is the law of allowing. This means you are allowing others and circumstances to be what they are without you needing to fix them or change it. Knowing this can save you tons of frustration in your relationships and your life, because you begin to be okay with the way things are and the way people are. Number 4 is the law of sufficiency and abundance. What that means is that the universe provides enough for everyone and everything, and if it needs more, it creates more. You don't have to take from someone else. There's enough for you. If you want it, create it. Number 5 is the law of pure potentiality. What that means is this is an unlimited potential universe of energy, and it has the potential to create everything in abundance. Every ingredient, every circumstance and situation for everything to come into form is already present. You just need to tap into it. Number 6 is the law of detachment. That means you'll get what you need, what you ask for, what you desire, but you can't control the how or the when. You do the process, you do the work, and then you allow it to come to you when the time is right, okay? Number 7 is the law of polarity. What this basically means is the universe is all about balance. And when things get out of balance, it tries to bring it back into the balance. The balance is the opposites. Negative, positive, give and take, cause and effect, reap what you sow. What you put out comes back to you, okay? So those are the 7 laws, and like I said, I'm not going to go into them in detail right now, just a brief description so you can understand what they are. And once you do, it'll be easier to work with them. It really isn't hard once you accept it. It's all about acceptance. Now, we've learned a little bit about our emotions and our thoughts, and we've learned that they are the language we use to communicate with the universe, with the universal laws, okay? So let's look at some simple examples of like what happens when you go to a restaurant. You know, you go and you place an order, a specific order with the waiter, who takes it to the kitchen, and you get served the meal you desire. You wouldn't sit down and just tell the waiter, hey, just bring me something to eat. Well, I mean, you could, but if you do, you don't know what you're going to get, whether you'll like it. And, you know, it's kind of risky. Well, your emotions are like placing an order with what we call the cosmic kitchen. And when your order isn't clear or it's filled with chaotic energy, that's like that arbitrary order to the waiter. The universe will send you anything and everything back to you, and it's usually not what you want. So, you know, when you are using your emotions to communicate your desires and needs to the universe, you got to make sure you are ordering what you really want, or you're going to get anything but. Okay? And when you are clear and your emotions are right and you're giving out the right order, very often what you get comes back even better than you expected. Now, the question is, how do you send the right emotional order to the cosmic kitchen? By learning about emotional vibrational frequencies, you can send out the right order. So let's talk about your emotions for a minute, okay? Like I said before, everything is energy. We are energy. The earth is energy. The things we see around us are all energy, vibrating at certain frequencies. Physical things vibrate at lower speeds, frequencies, and appear solid. Things like sound and microwaves and light have higher frequencies, and that's why you can't see them. You can feel them, but you can't see them. And emotions are in that frequency range. You can feel them, but you can't see them. Sad, heavy, low-level frequencies like despair, depression, fear, and anger, hate, and all that stuff, they are low-level emotional frequencies. They're still high enough to where you can't see them with your eyes, but you can certainly feel them, and they do feel heavy and dark and restrictive. Joy, love, peace, and balance, gratitude, things like that are higher level vibrational frequencies. And when you feel them, they make you feel good. They make you feel light even and airy, kind of like you want to sing and dance. But they are uplifting high level frequencies, and that's why they make us feel good. So now let's just briefly run through the emotions. There are basically 20 through emotions of creativity, and what they are, and more importantly how they work against us, is what this chart's going to tell you. I included this in your workbook, so if you want to take the time, in fact I highly advise you go back and review and read that section to give you a deeper understanding of the exercises that I'm going to give you to work with them. But for right now, I just want you to understand what they are. They are part of something called the emotional guidance system. It's like your GPS, except that instead of physical locations being the driving factor, your emotions are the driving factor. Now, there are 22 levels, and I'm just going to briefly read through them. The highest ones, in fact, the top 7 are the ones that create positive experiences. The other 15, which there are more of them, surprisingly, there are more of them than the higher level frequencies, and that's where we spend most of our lives because that's what we're used to. But there are processes and exercises you can use to start to elevate yourself up the ladder so that you live and dwell in the top 7 emotional frequencies. And once you do that, you're creating what you want. Life is good, everything's wonderful, and you are living in a place of freedom, joy, and abundance. Okay? The top level, number 1, it's joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, and appreciation. This is the highest level of vibrational energy you can feel. This is when you feel like celebrating and dancing and all is right with the world. Number 2 is passion. Anything that's driven by passion feels good too. Number 3, enthusiasm, eagerness, and happiness. Those are great energies. 4, positive expectation and belief. When you're in those levels, you're making things happen. 5 is optimism. 6 is hopefulness. And 7 is contentment. So any of those emotions that when you're vibrating and living in those energies, you're doing good. All of these above the line create what you want in your life. Everything below creates resistance and tends to block it. Now, level number 8, boredom. Number 9, pessimism. Number 10, frustration, irritation, and impatience. And you can feel how they feel. Just by me talking these words, can you feel the energy shift and how the things are vibrating differently? We're going down and they're getting heavier and deeper. Number 11 is overwhelm, and a lot of us are feeling that. Number 12 is disappointment. 13 is doubt. 14 is worry. And I always describe worrying, to me it's one of the most dangerous of the negative energies, because worrying is like praying for what you don't want. You're just telling the universe, I'm so afraid, this is going to happen, oh my God, whatever. You are praying for what you don't want. And the universe responds like, oh, okay, here's some more. Worry about this. Number 15 is blame. 16, discouragement. 17 is anger. 18, revenge. 19, hatred and rage. 20, jealousy. 21, insecurity, guilt, and unworthiness. And level 22, which is the bottom of the pile, fear, grief, depression, despair, and powerlessness. And you can feel how heavy those energies are. And if you've ever been in that place, you are totally bottoming out, and you're not creating anything. At that point, you really are in survival mode. You're, in some cases, like with fear, you could be fighting for your life. Okay. Now, these emotions are the keys to how we experience the world. It's what the universal laws respond to. And regardless as to how you are feeling at any given moment, the goal will be for you to find a way way to raise your vibrational frequencies until you're at level 7 or above, somewhere at contentment or above. Okay? And you can do this. I'm going to give you a short process, and it's in your workbook of how you do this. So the whole premise and understanding is to understand that no matter what energy level or emotional level I'm at, if I can get to the next higher level, then I can make it happen. I can get to the next one, I can get to the next one, and on up until I'm safely within level 7 or above. So let's look at a few examples about how to step up the emotional ladder. Using the list above, kind of just follow along and recognize what what this means. So remember, our goals are to get to number 7 or above and live there. But for now, let's start at the bottom, because with a lot of us, there's a lot of depression, fear, grief, despair, and all this negative energy. So to show you how we can move up and how things work, let's just say we start with depression. Okay? Start with that level of negative energy. The one above it is rage. Okay? Rage gives you a feeling of relief from depression, grief, despair, fear, guilt, or powerlessness. Now, this may equate to sometimes throwing a tantrum. And when you get to that point of bottoming out, sometimes throwing a tantrum, throwing stuff and what have you, does make you feel better. You get all that negative energy released, okay? May mean slamming doors, breaking things. Well, if you got to do that to get you out of that depressed state of despair and hopelessness, do it. Just don't hurt anybody, okay? Next, there's revenge, which gives you a better feeling from rage. There's anger, which is a better feeling from revenge. Blame is a better feeling than anger. Of course, and then we do that a lot, don't we? Overwhelm is a better feeling from blame. Irritation is feeling better than being overwhelmed. Being pessimistic feels better than being irritated. Being hopeful gives you a better feeling of being pessimistic, okay? Positive expectation is better than feeling optimistic. And then joy gives you the feeling of relief from even being positive. You can be positively expected, but when you're joyful, you are exuberant, and that is all the way up to the top. And when you can get to that point, then things really happen because you're open, wide, and inviting all that wonderful energy in. So now, for example, let's say something happened to you that makes you feel terrible, where nothing sounds good, nothing feels good. You're in this pit of darkness and despair and suffocating. Can't breathe. Everything's painful. The world is coming to an end, okay? The best way to describe what you're feeling is probably a state of abject depression, despair, fear, grief. Wanting to roll over and die. Well, if you could throw yourself into taking some action, you might feel a little better. If you could put what's bothering you out of your mind altogether and focus on your work you're creating, you could feel better. Now, there are many thoughts that you can entertain that could free you from your depression. However, vibrationally, you may not have access to feeling joyful right now. That may be too much of a stretch, or even feeling optimistic, okay? But if your intention is to find a thought, any thought that makes you feel a little better than depressed, and you're consciously aware of what that is, then you can begin to move up the scale immediately. If you really process, it's really a process of just going through thoughts and thinking more, and that's where you can pull out your chart and start to just imagine, okay, if I feel this, something that can happen or can trigger this emotion, I can get better, I can get there from here. Okay, here's an example. Suppose someone says something that makes you mad. Well, if you were depressed and now you're mad, you forget about being depressed. Okay, and as you focus on feeling angry, you're not depressed anymore. So in the middle of all of this depressed energy, now you're mad, you're breathing. In fact, you're probably huffing and puffing, and you're feeling a little better. So what it means is that, as long as you can consciously distract yourself or do something to change that energy and push yourself up the ladder, then you can start to make some things happen, okay? So working with these emotions and consciously taking your step from one step to the other as you go up the ladder till you get to level 7 or above is what we call consciously creating this emotional healing, of rising and vibrating higher and higher until it becomes a natural place for you to be. And in order to create and tell your new story, you have to begin to shift your emotional vibrations to the higher levels of joy, love, and happiness so that you can see life differently, so you can feel better, so that you can experience something better and higher. You'll start to act and speak and feel better. So if you're feeling depressed and hopeless, pull out your chart and start doing things, taking action just to kick yourself up a notch so that you are feeling better. One of the things that you can do when you're feeling depressed that really makes a big difference is getting up and doing things. Getting up, watching a happy movie, listening to some great music, calling a friend, going out people watching, getting out of the house. It's really important because sometimes the house carries all this heavy, dark energy of all the stuff that goes on in there. And you need to get out, breathe some fresh air, get some light, get some sun. All of this will help to break up this energy that's settling around you. And we'll talk some more about that heavy energy of how to break it up with some more exercises in workshop 2. But right now, the whole point is to just give you an awareness of your vibrational emotions and help you start to consciously change them so that it becomes more natural as you do it. But this way, with what I've given you tonight, you've got enough to work with. And if you just practice what I've given you tonight, you're going to see an immediate shift in your energy right away. And you'll already start with those 3 words, the word exchanges I gave you. You'll start to tell a new story without even thinking about it. But right now, and I've given you so much, I want you to just kind of relax and absorb it, take it all in. Listen to the video a couple of times, let it process through you, do your word exchanges, do your visualizations with your, shifting your energy. That's going to keep you busy. And at this point in time, I'm going to start giving you we're going to do an energy healing right quick as we start to close out. But I want you to remember, with everything that I've given you in Workshop 1, there's even more in Workshop 2. So I highly encourage you to look at moving into the next level, because when we get into Workshop 2 and deal with all of the real meat of the work that's there, you're going to come out of Workshop 2 with your new story, because at the end of it, there's a template. We actually work with the words that you can substitute for it. There's a whole lot of things going on there that will positively change your life and help you create and begin to tell your new story. Okay? So now we're going to do a little what I call tapping. This is the EFT that I told you about. Now in your chart, in your workbook, there's a chart with a little face on it and a little torso of a man. And it shows some energy points, some energy meridians on the face and the upper body that we're going to be using for tapping. These are energy centers in the body. And what it is like we're going to give yourself a little energy massage. EFT or tapping is like acupuncture without the needles. Instead of needles, we use our fingers to tap on the certain points. Starting with the eyebrow point, you'll see that's EB, side of the eye, SE, under the eye, UE, under the nose, UN, on the chin, CH, collarbone with the open palm of your hand, CB, top of the head, which, let me lean back, that's, just top on your crown. That's CB. That's TH, top of the head. And then tapping on your inner wrist. See, right at this point here, that's your left wrist and your right wrist. And then at the end, we're going to do something which is kind of, I call it laying your wrists together to finish out. This is energy so that we make a connection so that it flows. And so that we wrap up the whole energy cycle and things flow more freely. Okay? So now let's go into this tapping process and kind of get you, it's for 2 purposes. It's to relax you, but it's also to energize you. It's to start breaking up the negative energy and get you into a mode of receptivity and healing. The exercise we're doing tonight is called Calling in My Happiness. Yeah, that's very appropriate for where we are. And this exercise, as we do this, you're going to feel a little elated, a little energized. Some of you will feel a lot energized. Some of you maybe less so. But if nothing else, you're going to feel a little tingles, probably in your feet. And, maybe sometimes it will be in one foot or the other or somewhere else in your body. When you notice where the tingling is, that means that you've got that energy flowing in that spot. If you don't have tingling in both feet or your arms or all over, it means you've got more resistance. But don't worry, we're going to work on all that stuff before we get through, because there's another session of tapping at the end of Workshop 2. which will help that as well. Not to mention, you can go through this tapping experience over and over as many times as you want. The more you do it, the more effective it is, the more you feel it. And even if you don't want to go back through the whole workshop, just fast forward to the beginning of the tapping, just do the tapping. But I do want you to start with this point where we are right now. And one other note, after we do the tapping, I want you to remember for the next 24 to 48 hours to drink a lot of water. Tapping starts breaking up heavy, dense, dark energy in your body, and your body is physical, and everything that gets dumped into your body gets dumped into your bloodstream so your body can expel it. And so you need to drink a lot of water to flush this energy out of your system. Get fresh air, do some exercise if you want to. Walking is great. Eat good food. And more than anything, if you can avoid drinking alcohol, it would be great, because you're trying to flush toxins, not put more in. And you'll be very sensitive to alcohol. If you drink something, you're going to feel it more so than you normally do. So just, take care of yourself for the next 24 to 48 hours. And when you're experiencing the energy cleansing, remember, it's like a massage. It dumps toxins into your system. So you want to be clear and open up your body to receive it. Okay. So now with that, I want you to sit back, put your feet flat on the floor. If you want to take your shoes off, that's great, because it's good to be in touch with the earth. Even if you're on the second story, just put your feet on the floor, sit back in your chair and relax. You can put your hands in your lap or however you want to do them. You can tap on either side of your body, left hand, right hand, doesn't matter. If one hand gets tired, you can switch over. Your body has energy meridians on both sides, both effective, whichever is most comfortable for you. So sit back and relax, and like I said, put your feet on the floor, barefoot if you want, but if you got on house shoes or shoes, whatever, and just take a minute to allow yourself to open and receive. Okay, we're going to call in some happiness. Now, I want you to take a couple of breaths in, three. Let's do a series of 3 inhales and exhales. Okay, here we go. Inhale and exhale. Exhale all the air you can. Inhale again. And exhale as much as possible. And inhale again. And exhale. And just close your eyes for a minute and feel the energy while I send some Reiki your way. Honsha Zai Shonin, Honsha Zai Shonin, Honsha Zai Shonin. Sehiki, Sehiki, Sehiki. Okay, you can open your eyes, or if you hadn't closed them, just inhale and breathe. And now we're going to do a little tapping. We're going to call in some happiness. Now, one of the points I didn't mention, which is the karate chop here on the side of your hand, we use this to bring attention to our emotions, to our intent, and to start bringing our body to know that we want to clear some energy. This is like a button that says, hello, wake up, we're going to do some energy work, okay? So on this side of the hand, we are going to do this, tap on this side of your hand while we do what we call setup statements. This is stating our intention of what we're going to address so that our emotions are brought to the forefront of our attention, and this makes them accessible, okay? So let's start. And what I do is I'm going to repeat. I'm going to say a line, and you just repeat after me. I'll say it, and then I'll give a moment for you to repeat after me. This is also in your workbook material, so when you review this, you can pull it out. You can do it anytime, okay? So here we go. Karate chop tapping, and say, even though sometimes it's hard to believe I can be happy. In fact, sometimes I think it'll take a miracle for me to be happy. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And even though sometimes it's hard to believe that I can truly be happy, the truth is, a deeper part of me knows that it's my divine right, my birthright to be happy. And even though I sometimes feel out of place in life, disconnected, unloved, and insecure in my life, the truth is, I know that I am loved, that I'm meant to be here, that my life matters, and I'm just going to honor those feelings. And even though I don't always believe that happiness will happen for me, deep down inside, I know that it is possible. And when I look back over my life now, I can see happy moments have actually happened many times in my life. And in my heart, I know that they will continue to happen for me, now and in the future. So I'm going to open my mind and my heart so I can be happy now. Okay, let's start with the eyebrow point and say, something that makes me very happy is about to happen for me. Side of the eye. Yes, something very wonderful is about to happen for me. Under the eye. Something amazing is about to happen. Under the nose. Can you believe it? It's really going to make me very happy. Something that's so amazing, so absolutely amazing. It will seem miraculous, and it's very exciting. I wonder what it's going to be. Something incredible is about to happen. I can feel the energy flowing around me now. I'm wondering what it's going to be. I'm drawing it to me right now. It's coming through space and time. All the connections have already been made. It's probably been in motion for weeks. Maybe even months. Or maybe even years. But it's on its way to me now. And I'm just pulling it in. And it's just about to manifest. My happiness is happening right now. It's really happening. And I'm going to be shouting with joy. It's incredible that this is really happening. And I'll be calling everybody I know saying, I'm so excited and happy that this happened. I'm ecstatic. I'm so excited now. I am simply jumping with joy. I am so excited. And I'm also honored to receive this miracle of happiness. And lots of other miracles that bring happiness to me. And I promise I will say yes to all of them. I'm saying yes to the miracles and the happiness and to love and joy. It's a miracle. And I'm going to allow it to come into my life. In fact, now I see many miracles in my life. The people I love are miracles. And I'm going to tell someone that I love that they're already a miracle for me. This will make me happy. It'll make them happy too. And sharing my happiness makes me feel good. So I'm going to keep feeling my vibe as long as I allow more happiness to come in. My feelings of joy and anticipation that something incredible, something miraculous, something perfectly timed, something divine is here now. It's coming in now. So I'm opening up my heart and my hands, and I'm saying yes. Thank you, universe. Thank you, Mother Earth. Lay your hands, your left and right wrist together and say, for all of this joy and something even better, and smile. And now I want you to follow with 3 deep breaths in and exhale. Another deep breath in and exhale. One more time in and exhale. Send you one more Reiki symbol. Chokure, chokure, chokure. Now place your hand, doesn't matter which one, over your chest, your heart, and over your stomach and say, I now seal this process with divine wisdom and love. Now I just want you to sit back in your chair. Don't rush off. If you can take a few minutes and sit with this energy, you should be feeling it flowing through your body, your feet, your arms, your legs, your hands, even the top of your head may be buzzing. So just sit, breathe the energy in. You can close your eyes and relax if you want. Give yourself 2 or 3 minutes or 5 or 10 if you can. Just allow the energy to flow, because the more it flows through you, the more it will break up and start to move that energy of resistance and unhappiness and move it out. Remember, as you are going through this evening and the next day or two, drink lots of water, get some fresh air, do some exercise, walking, whatever you choose to do, because you've got a lot of energy that's moving. A lot of stuff's going to be breaking up over the next day or two, especially as you continue working with this. So make sure you let it flush all out so that it doesn't block up. You want to, get this energy moving out while you can. So that's all for tonight. I thank you. I send you many blessings of light and love, and I'll see you in workshop 2. Stay blessed and love and light to you always.